Okay, I saw the film, fantastic. Tell me a little, what was the inspiration for the story? Even though it's an obvious question, I guess you wanted to explore this kind of situation in Guatemala, right?
Yeah, I'd say it's more than explore. I found something very unique in Puerto Barrios that I thought was worth showing to the world because just to back up a little bit, I lived part-time in Guatemala since 2015 when I moved there to help start a film school. And I was the first professor at the cinema school at Universidad Francisco Marroquín. Since teaching there, I lived there on and off throughout the year. And one of my students invited me to his small hometown on the coast called Puerto Barrios, where the film takes place. When I went there at first, it wasn't to start writing a script. It was because my student, who ended up helping as a co-producer on the film, he basically said, my town is rich in beautiful places to film. Can I just show you them for a weekend, like a long weekend, like a Thursday through Sunday or something like that? And as we started location scouting, just to have in the back of our mind for the future, if we ever want to make a film, I started meeting people from the community. And with every person I met, they had a different story for me about the world. Some of them had been participated in the past in crime and others not, but they had friends. And the stories that I collected started making me feel like there was something interesting in this place that I felt like the rest of the world could have seen. I did a little research and I saw that the film had the town had never been put on film before, except for one time in 1933, a scene in Tarzan, but it was pretending to be Africa when they come in on the boats on the ship in the jungle there on the port on the dock. Other than that, this place had never been filmed before. So I instead of just spending the weekend with my student and enjoying, I went back every weekend for like months. And then I came back and I started living there part-time and interviewing people who had an interesting story to tell or an interesting background or life. And once I collected enough of them, I started incorporating things that I found were going on in Guatemala at the time. And I came together with a rough draft of a story. And that's how it started. And then it went to then involving La Danta Films and Mauricio Escobar, who I met at the university I taught at. We met there and I said, I want to make a film here. What do I do? How do I make a film in Guatemala? And he started introducing me to crew. And then he started showing me Guatemalan films and we found some professional actors. But one thing that I find is really unique about this film that I thought was the only way that I could have done it is the people that I started researching and interviewing for the film in Puerto Barrios, who are the real people, I asked them to play versions of themselves in the films, many of them. Some didn't want to participate, but the ones who did, we cast and we worked with them for 3 years. And we mixed with that a lot of the professional actors from Guatemala City, like Karen and Brandon and Juan Pablo. And it just started organically moving from there. And the script changed every time we did a rehearsal or found some new information, or the actor said, this would never happen. We could do it this way though. So it just kept changing. So that's a little bit on the background.
So in a way, it was kind of like a great collaboration. It was not you like, I'm here to do, it was it was very organic, a great collaboration. And where did you find the lady who plays Sarita? She was wonderful.
Sarita is played by Karen Martinez. She is
Yes.
a professional actress. Funny story, before I moved to Guatemala, I went to see a film at AFI Fest in Los Angeles called La Jaula de Oro. It had won a few awards and played Cannes Film Festival. And I found out later that she and Brandon Lopez, 2 of the 3 lead actors, were Guatemalan. I moved to Guatemala and started making this film. And Mauricio Escobar, the producer, came to me and he said, I'm going to bring in Karen. You might have seen her in La Jaula de Oro. She's a little older now. She's, early 20s. She's not like 15, like in the film. But I remembered her from La Jaula de Oro and Brandon. And I just, as soon as I saw her, I was like, this is an actress that I think can carry a film. And the thing I look for most is, am I interested in her inner life? Am I interested in seeing her go through a story like this and watching everything she does? And while we had non-professionals in most of the other roles, mostly the supporting ones, I felt like I needed someone with the skill set of Karen to bring us through the whole story. So that's how it happened, an organic casting from Mauricio, but a nice little kismet that I had seen her previous film which she and Brandon and her other co-star won an award at Cannes with, without knowing it. I walked into a movie at AFI Fest, and that was the one I picked that day. A few years later, I'm sitting there with her in a casting, and the rest is went from there.
That is really great. Why I felt like, I mean, she drives you through. For me, it was tough to watch. I love the film, but you know, because there's a mythical image in the empire about Guatemala with all the Mayans, Antigua, beautiful city. But this is the other side of Guatemala. What's the origin of this situation? Do you think it's corruption, the banana republic promoted by the US, or just the need to survive?
I think the need to survive and the dearth of opportunities, of opportunities that are there. Speaking about the actual film, I didn't set out to do anything political.
Right.
I think that comes later when you tell a story that's genuine. You can't ignore that there are political elements that influence a culture. But my goal was to first just stay true to the truth of the people that I met and make sure the story was being told. And of course, when you have a significant amount of people going missing, a lot of women going missing in a culture, that's something that has political implications for sure. But I started more with meeting these people in barrios and watching the news every morning in my hotel and seeing things on the news that I felt were more common than I had imagined. And the thing that I think it's also a function, the unrealistic portrayals you see in some films of gang members and of young people in Central America, I think is because maybe there's not as many films made in that region. And I think the more that are made, the more different takes you're going to see on a story like this. My goal was to make you feel that you walked around Puerto Barrios and the people that you meet are people that you'll remember, and they felt like it was themselves. That was the ultimate goal. The thing that I really wanted to create was that we understand who these people are and that they're driven to the things that they do, the amoral, the illegal, or the questionable things, not out of any kind of primal evil that sometimes could be portrayed in sensationalist stories out that are sometimes made by foreigners, right? But more out of a cultural makeup and situations, and sometimes political, out of necessity and out of not having a family or not having any other ways to survive or to make money or provide for your family. A lot of the kids that appear in the film have similar difficulties to the ones that they have in their characters. But again, I think that this is really more a function of just getting to know the people rather than present them as a stereotype or as a symbol. And so that was a goal in really getting to know who these people are. And again, I think this translates to many other cultures, especially when you get specific enough with this. A lot of people will find things in it in other cultures. You know, Guatemala is not the only place where there's crime. There, you know, and I think it's a bigger story than that. But I think it's important to acknowledge that's an element of the group of kids we're watching throughout the film.
No, but I totally understand what drives them to is the only way to survive, to be able to live. It's totally understandable. I mean, there's right. So
yeah, I did 3 years at least of interviews with people in the town. A lot of them older who had a past that was involved with these kind of the people and this kind of lifestyle, the kind of criminal lifestyle. And the thing that kept coming back when I was asking them, and a lot of these were off the record and they were like talking to me very privately, but it all helped in the writing of the script, was that it's a family first of all. And if you have a family of people protecting you, no one can mess with you in a way that if you're on your own. So it replaces the family unit sometimes being involved in these cliques. And obviously it's another way to make money, but it's also a way that, like, if you're not part of one, you're more
You're a target.
yes,
You could be
exactly. You're more vulnerable, right?
totally.
But it does work, half of my heritage is Sicilian, and my my grandfather was an insurance salesman and insured many people that I'm sure were partly mafia related back in old New York in the 70s. And the thing that I think is universal about the story is the way that the clicas in Puerto Barrios work with the neighborhoods and work with the businesses and protect certain businesses that pay them for their protection. It functions just like the old country in Sicily or anywhere else. It's
or in Brooklyn, or
exactly. Well, yeah, my grandfather, Sicilian, had his office was in Williamsburg in the 70s and 80s. So I have to say though that part of that element of the script, that part of the story, how you have this group of kids who are protecting certain businesses who pay them, and they have rival clicas that are also this is a universal part of the story that I thought an international audience can recognize and use as an entryway into the film to understand. It is a very typical plot that you've seen in other films about gangs from all over the world. But then once you get into the story, you can really enjoy the specificity and the color and of the town and the world, and just the really unique people and culture that is specifically in this part of the world.
I know it's great, but I need to introduce the film. So could you tell us what is Cadejo Blanco about, using the film title, so we can use your soundbite too?
Absolutely. Well, Cadejo Blanco is a story of a young working class girl from Guatemala City whose sister goes missing. And once she goes missing, she suspects that it has something to do with her sister's ex-boyfriend, who it's been rumored has dabbled in a little bit of gang activity in a little town called Puerto Barrios, which is on the northeastern coast of Guatemala. So she uses a fake name and befriends him to try to join the gang. And as she gets further into her initiation into the gang, she gets further and more deeply involved with this boy who is part of the gang, trying to figure out if he has something to do with his sister's disappearance. And she's almost positive it does. And through her initiation and activity in the gang, she starts to realize a lot of things about herself and things about the people that she's now dealing with that weren't exactly as she expected. And I think that journey is really interesting because we go on it too, having certain preconceived notions about what people are like, maybe in our imaginations about in Guatemala, and having those expectations being undermined at every moment, where as she gets deeper into this like world of petty crime and violence and survival in this small town. So it's really, I think, too, a parable in the sense of at every moment she is escaping death just by the skin of her teeth as she's getting deeper into the gang. And I was inspired with the title of the film, Cadejo Blanco, because a Cadejo is a folklore character in Central American mythology. That is a dog-like figure that's more than a dog, less than a wolf, not really an animal, more of a spirit type thing that looks like a dog. That is a guide that protects you from harm. And the best version of it for me is the one that the Guatemalan people tell me of. If you see a dog, like a wild dog on the street that looks kind of like a wolf, and they're walking along you outside when you get out of a bar, they walk alongside you so that as you're walking home drunk from the bar, no one mugs you. And that was my first introduction to the Cadejo. So as soon as I heard about this legend, I was like, this is a great parable that closely runs in parallel and resembles Sarita's journey through all of this delicate and very difficult and sometimes life affecting and risking her life to get to her final destination.
I loved when we saw Cadejo, the dog there, the beautiful dog in the middle of the jungle. And
yeah,
beautiful. That's when I understood. I didn't know what Cadejo Blanco was, but then I research and then I relate it. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
and
I like titles that kind of have a tangential relationship to the story, so that
yeah,
once you've seen it, the title can help give another layer of meaning.
yeah, and I understood the symbol was protecting her, which is
My
great.
dog is talking about the Cadejo. She heard us talking about the Cadejo.
She's jealous. She's jealous about Cadejo Blanco.
Yeah, she's upset because I didn't cast her. She's not big enough. She's white, but she's not a Cadejo.
How big is she? Can we see her?
Yes, she's. I could have cast her.
She's cute. Yeah, she's beautiful.
Yeah, but you know, it was hard because she doesn't take direction at all, and her. Oh, sorry, Bertie. Her fee was a little too high. You know, she wanted a really nice hotel, and it was a low budget film.
He was too. She's a prima donna.
Yeah, a little bit of a diva, and you know, her agent, my wife, was a hard bargainer. So we got a local dog in Guatemala. Yeah.
Better. And listen, last thing, how important is it for you to be at the Toronto Film Festival?
I mean, it's a great honor. It's one of the best festivals in the world, and for me, it's a great opportunity to show the immense talent and in Guatemala to an international audience. I've also been a great believer that Cameron and everyone at the festival really care about every film that they put there, and it gave me my first feature premiered there, and played to 3 full audiences, and I'll always be kind of indebted to Toronto as a festival for helping get my first thing I ever did out into the world. So it's a wonderful semi-homecoming. I'm not there, of course, but the film is, and that's more important. And I have to say, if you're a cinephile and a movie lover, there's no better place to be to watch films. And so that's the shame about this year. When I was there back with my first film, I think every free minute I had, I was in a screening to watch. I must have watched 30 films over the week that I was there.